How Staffordshire should sound. Six Towns Radio.
Six Towns Radio going over to the telephones. Today I've got a very special guest on the line. I've got Griff. Hello, Griff.
Hiya, mate. You right?
Yeah, good, mate. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm good, Sally. Thanks. Yeah, very good.
A lot of people will know your voice straight away. Not just people who've watched your TV show, but people who you've called, because you are on Series 1 and 2 of BBC3's The Call Centre.
Yes, for my sins, yes. I did feature quite heavily in the second series. And obviously single-handedly carried the Christmas special, Terry.
It's been a big hit for BBC3. Why do you think it was such a massive hit?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think originally it was probably the fact that people found it a bit of a freak show. You know, a lot of people weren't sure whether it was a spoof or not, whether it was scripted, you know, whether it was a real workplace. Obviously Ned would have made quite an impression on people in the first few episodes. So I don't know, it came as a bit of a surprise to everybody, just how successful it was, really.
Yeah, and then in Series 2 you got the boot.
I did, yeah. I lasted till the 5th episode, but given my marching orders then, Terry, you're right.
It wasn't because you were a good seller, it was just because of some of the things you did. You were in meetings telling you can't say this, you can't say that, but again, it's sort of how you got through what you had to do. Well,
yes, there was a lot of Jobsworth type characters there who you would have seen, or the quality control department who you know, seemed to be concerned with quality unless common sense was involved, and then obviously quality without the window. But it was a very frustrating place to work, Terry, to be honest with you. Very frustrating.
Yeah. You were deemed to have an unorthodox approach to cold calling, and I suppose you being you, wanting to inject some of your personality into the phone calls, and that got you through the day.
Yes, you know, obviously this mental health issue of trying to hold on to your sanity.
Yeah.
And, I did find it, it was a better sort of way of selling, just to have a chat with people, really, you know, try and retain a bit of humanity amongst the whole thing, you know. It wasn't calling people, the majority of who don't want to be called, and you don't particularly want to be making those calls yourself. You've got to try and get through it somehow, really.
What have you been doing since leaving the call centre?
Yeah, well, that was recorded about, I think it was February, but it was March, and I was actually sacked, or actually left working in the call centre. Became a bit disillusioned with the industry, as you may have seen in the programme.
Yeah.
And, the fact that I was sort of losing my head a bit on the phone to people, and I calculated that I'd made about 1 million calls, right, in my illustrious telesales career. So I started a campaign, it's called Griffs Mission, where I vowed to block 1 million calls now, obviously to address the balance, you know. So I've been looking into call blocker technology, because there are devices out there that can eliminate all these cold calls and scam calls that people are receiving on a daily basis. I wasn't really aware, you know, properly of what was available. So when I thought, right, you know, maybe we can take on the call centre single-handed, yeah, and Griffs Mission was born.
So this was like your Dragon Den moment, so what have you been doing since?
As I say, I've got to know a company who do manufacture the call blocker. That, you know, after doing my research, I found, you know, in terms of how effective it is, the fact that it's approved by the police, the company who manufacture it liaises closely with trading standards and things like that. I do believe trading standards have actually purchased 1,000 of these call blockers in the Wirral area, with a view, you know, to giving them away free of charge to sort of vulnerable adults and elderly people who've been victims of scams in the past, things like that.
I was going to ask you who, you know, is the most affected by cold calls, but I think you've just said it. Vulnerable adults, the old people, they are the ones who are probably more likely to buy these things that are offered on the phone.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people, with sort of dementia issues. You'll find a lot of, elderly sort of 70 plus tend to spend, tend to be answering the phone more in the daytime as well. So, a lot of the people that you'd speak to working in that industry, ringing in the daytime, would be, elderly people at home on their own. And, some of them, very vulnerable, very impressionable and gullible and, ideal prey for these sort of sales techniques that people employ.
Yeah, you've done it. So, you phone me up, say I'm the person being called, you introduce yourself, and I say no. You've got a script or you've got like a few lines to keep me on the phone, haven't you?
Well, yeah, there's all these sort of techniques that they try and teach you and sort of, different sort of psychology of it all and overcoming objections and all that sort of stuff, But the whole thing is geared around not taking no for an answer, really.
Yeah.
And, that's where you do get your sort of more vulnerable members of society, can get caught up in all this by not wanting to say no to somebody or, feeling like they can't say no or just people agreeing to things where they don't really know what they're agreeing to. And, since I started looking into this, originally, I suppose part of me, it was just a bit of a revenge thing, with Nev. A bit of a laugh or whatever, but a good product as well, because, we've always said, people I've worked with in the past, imagine selling something that people actually need. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is what I found with this product. It is something that people will actually benefit from,
Yeah.
This is why, I looked into the different ones available and prices and, what they can actually do. And the CPR call blocker, it actually comes pre-programmed with 200 known sales and scam numbers. So those 200 numbers are automatically blocked from ringing you once you connect the blocker to your handset. Any further sales calls you get, you just press the block now button and that number's permanently blocked from ringing you.
Yeah.
And they do other sort of devices as well. There's call blockers you can get, for particularly vulnerable adults where only certain numbers can ring, whether that be family or carers or, different sort of authorities that people are dealing with. There's mobile phones, which are being sort of, like big button mobiles, which are sort of more targeted towards elderly people who want to phone for a bit of security.
Yeah.
But those same 200 numbers are blocked from ringing those mobiles. So there's a lot of things people can do now, to arm themselves against it. I get a lot of people saying to me, well, why should I buy one? Well, why should you buy a burglar alarm? Because people burgle your house. You shouldn't have to buy a burglar alarm because people shouldn't burgle your house, but it happens,
Yeah.
And it's the same with smoke alarms, what part of what I'm campaigning for is for, senior citizens, vulnerable adults, etc., to be given these call blockers free of charge, by the government. And I think ultimately, it will save the country money on, costs to the police, all the extra charges we pay on our insurance because of insurance scams. And, whenever these scams go on, ultimately the public end up paying for it in one shape or form.
Yeah. What about the people who work in call centres, though? Is this something that's going to effectively lose their jobs? According to that programme, there's 1 million people working in call centres. If I could remove the sort of unnecessary 850,000, obviously I'm hoping that, new industries will flourish. People end up in these jobs because there's not other jobs around, or they get trapped in these types of jobs. If these jobs don't exist, the government's going to have to sort of create some proper jobs. Yeah, because they weren't around 20 years ago, were they?
Well, no, people used to make things and, people used to do things. Now it's just a sort of, a lot of these call centres are just, they're just irrelevant. It's just an inconvenience. It's just, people shifting people from one company to the next and somebody else is ringing to shift them back. And a lot of it is just totally pointless, Terry. I mean, it's just absolutely nonsensical, a lot of these call centres. There is a purpose to some of them, but the majority, they don't benefit people or this country, really.
Okay, we're just going to play a quick record, then we're back with Griff.
Broadcasting to Stoke-on-Trent and the world. This is Six Towns Radio.
Brilliant stuff. It is Six Towns Radio. We've still got Griff on the telephone. We've been talking about Call Blocker. Is there a website, Griff, that people can go to find out more?
If you go to the CPR, it's cprcallblocker.com. CPR, that's the Call Prevention Registry. They've actually assimilated that list of 200. As I say, you'll see on their website then they're affiliated with, trading standards, work closely with the police, etc., etc. Same with, I think they're going off to London next week to the House of Commons to speak to some MPs or, something about legislation coming in. And, it's becoming a big sort of issue at the moment. But it's become such a problem. It's only now that it's being taken seriously that, something is finally, the wheels are in progress of something being done about it. Because as I say, since I've been looking into it, there's stories of elderly people squandering their life savings on things they didn't need or just out-and-out scams. And the family are only discovering it after they passed away and, clearing up their finances, etc. And, these people have kept it all to themselves. They've had all these, things being taken from them, stolen from them, and they haven't felt able to tell their family about it. There's a lot of people suffering, in silence with it. It's, because, a lot of people are too embarrassed to say. A lot of people don't even realise they're getting ripped off,
Yeah.
And it's only when somebody intervenes and, gives them a bit of help or looks into their finances, they're finding ridiculous amounts of transactions, which, there was no real reason to happen.
Yeah. Well, you're the perfect person to speak to because you've been on both sides of the coin.
Well, this is it. I'm not going to pretend I'm an angel, and I've had to feed my children over the years, etc. But I got caught in a bit of a trap of it as well. You get caught in the trap of earning commission and chasing targets, and I don't know. And after watching myself on that program, I could just see from my own personal point of view how unhappy it was making me working in the job.
Yeah.
Not just because of the nature of it, from the point of view of, upsetting other people and all that. Just, as I said in the program, it's not really a job that was designed for human beings, really. We didn't spend billions of years evolving to do that.
Definitely not. Besides the Call Blocker thing, you did a bit of stand-up. Is that something you're ever going to go back into or something you'd like to do?
I think so. I did stand up about 3 times, and promoting comedy nights in Swansea as well, which is something I want to get back into doing. Ideally, what I want is a sort of a regular night, in Swansea's Half Decent Comedy Club down here.
Yeah.
Which is what I was trying to build last year. I had some good comedians down here. Brian Gittins, who is David Earl, who is Kev from Derek, and Trevor Locke, who's been around for years. Chris Dangerfield, my own personal favourite comedian. Not people that people may necessarily have heard of, but in the sort of highly respected in the comedy circles, proper decent comedians. Plan was then for me to sort of do a bit at these nights where there was a couple of established comedians there. So regardless of what nightmares I was encountering, at least it would be a good night because there would be people there who knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I did it 2 or 3 times. I think my bottle's gone a bit, to be honest with you, at the moment. I don't know. I haven't done it for about a year now, and I'm probably more afraid of it now than I was before I'd done it, because I know how terrifying it can be. But it went quite well, and I know I can write funny stuff and all that. And I'm trying to. I'm in talks with some TV companies now about possibly making something else, because obviously they've spotted the hidden genius. The rest of you could see quite blatantly. I got a few things going on. Where it'll all lead, I don't know, Terry, but it's all quite interesting at the moment.
Yeah, well, you'll have to let us know. Keep us up to date, mate, and thanks a lot for coming on the phone today.
Brilliant. Been a pleasure.
Cheers, Griff. Take care, man.
Thank you, Terry.